This is an opportunity really for us to talk to each other and learn from each other, and for us as Jen to actually hear you. So that's the importance of the meeting to us, is that this gives us an opportunity to hear about all the things that you're doing and share noteworthy practices. So around the table, we have some Global Entrepreneurship Week hosts, and we also have some state coordinators and community organizers from across the United States, which we're really excited about having. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark. And do you want to sit around the big table?
Let's start like that if that's okay. So that way, the benefit of us sitting around the table is that everybody has these mics in front of them. And so that way, our team in the back is able to kind of capture what happens here. But I think we can play it by ear. And certainly, I would imagine, this is a long session. So I would imagine that we kind of take things a little bit more casual direction, a little bit more intimate. And so at some point, we'll pop into the center. But we'll start out here and see how it goes, if that's all right with everybody. So welcome to everyone. Thanks for coming in. I see a number of familiar faces, but I see a number of new ones as well. And so, given that we're kind of a light room, I want to encourage anybody, feel free to kind of sit around the table. That there isn't any exclusivity here. We're not holding microphones for any specific folks. So if you want to join, feel free to sit around the ring. But if you're more comfortable kind of in the seats over there on the side, that's cool too. So going into that, as I mentioned, I see some familiar faces. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask, just to get a sense of everybody's level of familiarity and experience with Global Entrepreneurship Week, and so we don't cover too much ground that we don't need to. By show of hands, how many of you in here are with GEW host organizations running national campaigns during Global Entrepreneurship Week? Show of hands. Okay, so we got about half the folks in here that are running GEW campaigns. Okay, and so I know we've got Robert over here from Tallahassee in the US. And so how many of you are with organizations that run your own events, but you don't manage a national campaign? So how many of you are focused more on individual events at a community level? So we got a couple here.
It's all US people.
Yep, fantastic. And then just if anybody wants to shout out who hasn't raised your hand yet, what's your exposure level to Global Entrepreneurship Week? Are you already familiar? Have you participated in events during GW? Or is this really kind of like your first introduction to it? First intro, okay, fantastic. First intro over here too. All right, where are you from, sir?
Sunshine Coast, Queensland.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll call that local. And then over here.
I'm from Malaysia, but my family lives obviously he's the experience, but not me.
Fantastic. Okay. So I've got a quick presentation. We'll go through some stuff here. And it's a kind of a dual purpose presentation. It allows me to hit some points. So for those of you that, it's kind of loud, that aren't quite as familiar, it's an introduction to what it really means to be a host organization running a national campaign. And for those of you that are already familiar with it, just kind of a refresh. So Chris, if you wouldn't mind pulling up, oh, you already did, you're a step ahead of me, and I'm going to grab this from Gary. Okay, so fortunately you don't have to listen to me too much. Gary and Cecilia will kind of lead this is more interactive discussion, but just to kind of go through a few quick things here. About GW, at least most of you are familiar with the concept. And so, there's probably the two most visible programs that Jen has are Global Entrepreneurship Week and this here, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. And so this is obviously very much a traditional face-to-face. Everybody kind of convenes in one location for one single event, right? Global Entrepreneurship Week is a collection of roughly 40,000 different events, activities, and competitions that happen in basically 200 countries every November. So it's very decentralized. And what we do is, oops, we don't need that. A lot of folks have seen Richard Branson, who when we started Global Entrepreneurship Week back in 2008, it was started as a youth entrepreneurship campaign. And so Gordon Brown, back when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer before he became Prime Minister of the UK, started a program called Enterprise Week, and he wanted young Brits to be more like young Americans, he said. And so we thought, you know what, that's not really fair. We don't have a monopoly on entrepreneurship. And so let's take this global. And so in that first year, we had 77 national campaigns that were celebrating Global Entrepreneurship Week around the country. Branson has been a huge champion of ours from the outset, kind of filming statements of support, doing activities, and he's got different centers that run programs during Global Entrepreneurship Week in different countries. So we're happy to have his support, but really we couldn't do GW without all of you who are running host organizations, who are leading these campaigns in country, because you're doing all the work. And so what is a host organization? We look at what makes a successful national campaign. So we're trying to reach all parts of a country, not necessarily be regional, but we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. We're trying to hit scale, large number of events, large number of partners running those. But what we do is we try to focus on how do we, raise awareness and visibility. So we're looking at that handful, that collection of high-profile events. Do you have some VIPs who are involved? Do you have some big recognizable brands that can help attract, media attention? So that's what, we're looking at in terms of those campaigns, right? It's about scale, but it's also about kind of exposure too. So, and those of you who are running these host organizations, as I mentioned before, you're the ones who are really making the difference on the ground. And so we've got individual host organizations currently that are running active national campaigns in about 130 plus countries. So we're greatly appreciative of that. Your organizations vary, right? So we've got some that are actually government agencies. We've got some that are led by NGOs. We've got some that are led by universities, business schools, entrepreneurship centers or clubs. And there's really no right fit there, just kind of based on country to country and what works best. So, but there are some characteristics that some successful host organizations share. And we're looking for, somebody who's an active ecosystem player. And again, it doesn't matter the background, but we're looking for somebody who's really an organization that's really well connected throughout the ecosystem. We're looking for a large and diverse national network. Again, we're trying to reach as many people as possible here. And so we're not trying to, as we say, preach to the converted. We're trying to reach new audiences here. And so we're really looking for that large and diverse national network. As you all know, we're not providing funding for you to run these national campaigns, right? And so that's something that we can't bankroll the entire initiative. It's a global campaign. We're all doing this together. But we hope that, by working with you and collaborating with you, that this provides you with an opportunity to reach out to, whether it's government agencies in your country, corporate partners, or others who kind of share your vision for this in terms of reaching out and engaging as many people as possible, making it possible for startups to flourish in your communities and in your countries. I know in the U.S., the focus is on, again, not just Silicon Valley, right? Not just New York, but about, all the cities and all the communities throughout the U.S., and making it possible for entrepreneurs to kind of rise up and thrive no matter where they are without having to look to relocate. So, so that's kind of a quick snapshot of kind of host organizations. And again, we've got kind of, all different types. We've got some logos there, some of our hosts running campaigns around the world. But, what is it that the hosts do? So the primary role is to execute that national campaign. Again, we're trying to reach scale. We say catalyze, don't organize. And so we don't want to put kind of fence posts around GW. We want everyone to be as inclusive as possible to reach as many organizations throughout your country as you possibly can. One bit at the bottom there, use, update, and report data through the GW Global website. It's an ongoing focus for us. We know we've got a ways to go in terms of technology to make that user experience as easy as possible for folks, but we are trying to get a sense of, in each of your countries and each of your communities, who are the players who are really the most active when it comes to entrepreneurship and events around the world. And, there's some research going on behind the scenes where the focus is on local connectivity and global connectivity and what that impact has on entrepreneurs and on ecosystems. And so that's one reason why we do Global Entrepreneurship Week, is to create those local connections and help facilitate that. And so the more information and the more data that we have directly about those organizations running events, the sharper the research is on the backside, and the more that we can kind of collectively communicate impact, right? Impact at the global level, but also impact of what you're doing on the ground, whether it's as a partner at the city level, or as a host organization at the national level. So a couple of key elements, campaign management, managing all the aspects, connecting directly with our team. A lot of you already do this, and so I don't need to roll through it. But for anybody that's considering potentially, doing a little bit more during Global Entrepreneurship Week than organizing some events, if anyone's interesting in what would it take to kind of run a national campaign? Fortunately, we've got my colleague here, Cecilia, who's our director for global community, and she's got a pretty accurate and up-to-date list of the countries where we have full-fledged campaigns and those where we don't. And so I encourage you to chat with her if you're interested in doing a little bit more. But campaign management, funding the campaign I mentioned earlier in terms of whether it's soliciting grants or sponsorship to cover that. But hopefully this is an opportunity for you all. We don't have any financial expectations of our host organizations. Whatever you manage to do in your countries and in your communities benefits that national campaign, or that national campaign or those local events. So that's all up to you. Brand alignment is something that is always a focus of ours. And, Robert, I'd love to chat with you a little bit more about your vision on that and how we might be able to tweak what we do. But, one of the things that we're trying to do with kind of the brand alignment of the events is that we don't want to supersede the events that partners are having at the local level. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to connect everything. So that way there's an awareness that this is a global movement. This isn't just a single event in whether it's in Queensland, or whether it's in Malaysia or somewhere else in the world, right? This is all connected, and we're all trying to kind of drive towards the same goal. So, for us, kind of that, we've got some resources that are available on the site. So if anyone goes to gw.co, they can access those. But then for you host organizations, obviously you all know that you have a dashboard where we provide those resources for you. So. Website usage, we already covered. Communications, again, storytelling is important, right? It's not necessarily the data-driven research, kind of thing that kind of quantifies impact, but it helps us communicate impact, and kind of that's the stuff that resonates really. And so, at the global level, and you guys have probably heard me say this for 14 years now, if you've been coming to each and every GEC, but we're always super hungry for content. We're always super hungry for stories. We want to know what's happening on the ground. What's going on? Is it a big event? Is it a VIP? Is there some kind of story about a local entrepreneur that maybe participated in one of your events and somehow has managed to kind of parlay that into success, right? Maybe there's a new, funding round, or they've gone into great success. We want to tell those stories. And so, the website is a good way to do that. For host organizations that are running those national campaigns, you add those articles to the site, and we can pull those into our global feed, and our communications team can really lean into that stuff. But for partners that are doing events, on the ground, one of the things that we're prioritizing with the web platform is the ability for anyone to submit a news article to the website. And so that way, we've got partners that are running events. There's a way for user-generated content to make it into that cycle. So that way, again, we're kind of promoting the best and brightest things that are happening around the world. Metrics and evaluation. So again, because of the funding issue, right? Whether you're working through, government grants, whether you're going through corporate sponsors, you're going to have to communicate, well, this is the impact that we're having, right? You can't just say, can we get some money for some events, right? It's kind of hard to do that. And so one of the things that we're focusing on a little bit more is kind of the data side of metrics and evaluation to kind of measure that, impact. And so again, that's why we, push the things that we push. That's why I go on like a broken record about the GW website. And the more that everybody's interfacing with that site, the better able we are to communicate like the true global scale of the initiative and to kind of communicate that impact. And hopefully the better job that we do tracking that at the global level, we can turn resources over to you on that, so that way you can communicate your national campaign or your local events into the bigger picture of what's happening at the global level, so that way it makes it easier for you to go out and do fundraising on your own. And I'm going to end here on this slide. So again, I want to spend most of our time just kind of listening to you and talking about what your experiences are, what your questions are. Cecilia and Gary have a great interactive program for us to do here. But just this last slide or last two slides is just, the global support community. We're obviously here. We couldn't do Global Entrepreneurship Week without all of you, as I mentioned before. And so we're super appreciative of the work that you do, but we're here to help facilitate. And we're here to support as much as possible. So we're a lean and mean team ourselves. I think a number of you probably have some lean operations, right? But we're here to support. So whether it's the Gen Global staff, and what we do, whether it's on Slack and the communications that we have on an ongoing basis, the monthly Zoom meetings or Teams meetings that we do virtually, or whether it's some of the resources that we provide, like the host guide. I'm really hoping that one of the outputs of today is that we'll gather a lot of great ideas from all of you. In terms of what you're doing on the ground and what we can share with each other, because while I personally have been involved in Global Entrepreneurship Week since we began it in 2008, I have a certain angle into it and what I see, and I don't see what you guys are doing on the ground with your individual events, or I don't see how you're running those national campaigns and what works best for you, and so. With that GW host guide, we've got some stuff, that we're trying to communicate, to all of you from the global level. But what I really want to do with that thing is share the best and brightest ideas that all of you have from your campaigns. And so for that, we're trying to capture as much as we possibly can on that. So that way we can kind of, compile that information and turn that around and share that with all of you. So that way you're learning from each other. So super important for us. And then again, website tools and templates, communications. I have a new colleague, Ashley Massengill, who is really going to be whipping things into shape in terms of the website and the platform. Catherine Forrest is our director for communications. We're putting together a lot more tools and templates than we have in the past for communications, and so hopefully making that easier for all of you. But again, making all those available. So, and again, global support, but it's backed by a collaborative community. So we're really hoping to amplify what you guys are doing, so that way you can share with each other and learn from one another. So that's it. So I'll turn over to Cecilia and to Gary. But again, hopefully we're just doing a lot of listening here, and I'll let them run through the session.
Oh, and you're not going to just listen to us. So I'm going to invite Mary and Sala and all of you to come sit over here so that you can join us at the table, because we won't be able to hear you otherwise. And the reason that we're going to speak into the microphones is because we can record it and share it with the other Global Entrepreneurship Week hosts that are not around. Many of you several of you have been involved in Global Entrepreneurship Week longer than Gary and I have been with the organization. So we really do want to listen. If you've been part of these, the past couple of months of calls as a Global Entrepreneurship Week host or a Global Entrepreneurship Week state coordinator for the United States, you will have heard us go through some different approaches, different perspectives, and a framework to think about the work that we do. So this will not be new to you. For those of you who are just now hearing about this, um, the the background is that as an entrepreneurial ecosystem builder, I've had the honor and privilege of ecosystem builders. It's a little bit different. Most of you as ecosystem builders focus on an organization or a community or even a state or a region. And in my previous work and the work that I do here, I work with the ecosystem building practitioner community, and what we've figured out just a little bit, and more from the input that we get from you, there are at least 4 core competencies of how to be a really good ecosystem builder. And if we can focus on these 4 core competencies, then we can connect and skill up, flex that muscle. You know, as you exercise, you flex that muscle and you get better at ecosystem building. So the 4 core competencies of ecosystem builders that we've been focusing on for the last couple of months are stakeholder engagement. You as an ecosystem builder are the people that identify and connect dots, right? So you know who's important in your community to engage with, who are harder to communicate with, who you need involved, who you would like involved. So those 4 core competencies include that stakeholder engagement. And when we talk about that, we talk about internally, that's within our organization or our campaign or initiative. And we also talk about the external players. Who doesn't yet know that they are part of the ecosystem, right? Those are sometimes policymakers and sponsors and organizers that are outside of your regular community that you need to engage with in order to be successful and to help your communities thrive. Another core competency is communication. And some of us are really good at communicating, and some of us can use a little bit more help in doing that. But basically, those communication tools are about telling the story of your ecosystem. Because I will tell you that when you tell the story of your community, and I've learned from the past few months of speaking to all of you, you have a story to tell. And stories open up hearts and minds. And when stories open up hearts and minds, then you get engagement. So in the invitation to be part of this. The other thing is metrics and data, as Mark mentioned. You know, for all our stakeholders, for the people who fund you or fund us, that being able to articulate where you are and where you're going, that goal setting, that data is crucial, because while storytelling opens up hearts and minds, data and metrics will open up checkbooks and wallets. And that brings us to the other core competency, which is sustainability. And we talk about sustainability in a number of different ways. Sustainability sometimes looks like sponsorship. So how do you get somebody to contribute to your Global Entrepreneurship Week campaign? You get fundraising. So maybe you're raising money to host an event or to share more information out. And the other thing is revenue generation. And some of you have utilized the ability to get Global Entrepreneurship Week support in order to help support and sustain some salaries and some initiatives to move other programs forward. So we want to think about sustainability in a number of different ways. And some of you, very candidly, I know, have been voluntold that you are the GEW coordinator for your organization. That means that you work for an organization, they pay your salary, and part of your responsibility is that you do this thing called Global Entrepreneurship Week. So that's being voluntold. So as we go through this, Gary has wonderfully put together some prompts to have you address. We want to hear from you. So we're going to start with stakeholder engagement, and um, and I know that some of you have received proclamations from leaders, policymakers, celebrities to talk about Global Entrepreneurship Week. And, um, and so, who are the stakeholders that you need to engage? Who is it in your community that's important to connect with so you get your message out? Oh, so first, before we get started, does anybody have any questions? Points of clarity? No? Okay. This is the audience participation time. I have no shame in calling you out because I know that a lot of you do amazing work. And if I don't call your name, you won't share. So we'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
Gary.
All right, so we're gonna open the conversation around stakeholder engagement. Um, just a few house rules. When you join the mic, just let us know your name, where your host organization. We have someone taking notes. I'll be taking notes as well, so we would love to know who each of you are as you share. So, thinking about stakeholder engagement internally, um, what are the aspects that you look for in people to engage in Global Entrepreneurship Week? What kind of organizations are you after? So that's kind of the question for the floor. Curious on if you want to have thoughts on it.
And I'm going to call on Violetta to share who.
I knew it. Hello, everybody. My name is Violeta Moran. I'm from GW Ecuador. I've been, Fundación Emprender has been hosting Global Entrepreneurship Week since 2009, and I am hosting since 2011. So it's a lifetime. The people we engage to speak, women, particularly women in tech, because one part of our campaign is around empowering women to be successful. Being a woman in Latin America is hard, and we need all the resources we have to empower the women around us. Another people we engage are young entrepreneurs, um, because they need to speak, they need to show to the audience how how did he do the things right to be successful entrepreneurs. And of course, a international cooperation and local governments are also engaged in the campaign. We engage in the campaign universities, high schools, entrepreneurs, organizations. GW is organic. It's something that you show to the ecosystem, and you tell them, if you want to if you want to be an ally of GW, you can come, because GW is open. It's for everybody. We want to engage all the audience, all the ecosystem. You cannot be like, no, you cannot be part of GW because you're not part of my ecosystem. No, everybody has to be there. All the people have to be engaged. And as a community, we have to be really open. We have to be open-minded to see where are these communities that feel outside the environment, to to tell them, come, you are part of us. Even if you don't think you are part of this community. So
So let me ask the room. There are certain historically marginalized groups that sometimes we get a chance to focus on. So what are some other examples? I know, how many people in this room, in where they live, what they represent, gender is a big gap. So those people who don't have their hands up, do you have gender equality, gender equity in all of the programs that you are running?
If I may say, for Moldova, it's a bit different when we talk about rural women entrepreneurs. So basically, with capital cities or big towns, the women entrepreneurship is better represented, especially since we had a program with us included for 10 years as a national platform for women, women association. They have been growing, where we feel that the most marginalized groups are in rural communities. And that is why when building our ecosystem, we try to spread our efforts to work with communication entities, so meaning media or people that have an influence in their community that could spread the word. So we try to start with that, because those are the people that are going to talk about what we are doing, and they are going to resonate with their hearts because they are coming from those communities. And it was vital for us to find the right people. And sometimes people change, politics change things around. I think it's valid for everybody. And we have to be kind of careful to see and follow these trends.
Tell the people who you are.
Yes, my name is Olesia Fortuna, and I come from the Republic of Moldova.
So when you talk about, so how many people have a challenge in engaging rural communities in your ecosystem? Oh, I think almost more than women, right? Or more than gender. So when you talk about rural communities, like Alessia was sharing, that getting involved in media, right? So that overlaps with the communication. How do you get the media to care about GEW?
Okay, so I have to tell you that when I started GM or GU, Global Entrepreneurship Week, I started also a media company at the same time. And I had a partner that worked in media, so I was kind of privileged. And also, I was a manager of a big program that involved media people from regional communities. So I already had the contacts there. So basically, for me, it was easy to ask them, look, how is the entrepreneurship going in your district, rayon, as we call it? And they were saying, oh, there is limited number of entrepreneurs in rural communities. Some villages have none. Do you want to do something about it? We can't pay you. But is this part of your commitment to change the things that are happening in your rayon, in your district, in your village? And usually it resonated with them.
yeah, we don't use media because they don't have media, but we use contacts. We contact with the universities around, or universities having a program with rural communities, or high schools. We we seek for a partner in those small cities, in those small places, in rural communities, and we ask them to help us. We use that thing because a lot of our rural community and Aboriginal people does, does not use media. They don't have it. They don't even have a television. So
So, go ahead.
Something really short. When we, well, Rene Salomon, I'm from Bolivia, South America, and I'm part of the GOW for more than 12 years. And something that is really important when you go to the rural area is that over there doesn't get sometimes the internet, you don't get the newspaper, but always there is a radio, a local radio. So what we do is we invite the local radio to be part of this as a sponsor. So we will have a good connectivity to show the youngsters that is going on something in the high school, the institute, or maybe the university if they do have it. But something that is really important with this is that when you go to a media, I mean like a newspaper, radio, TV, you talk about Global Entrepreneurship Network, and then for the next day, they say, no, we already covered that Sunday when you started or Monday. So they don't cover it. So what we did is Monday, policies. Tuesday, universities and high schools. Wednesday, gender entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship. Thursday, impact. That means rural area, sustainably, and everything. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, technology. So the newspapers, radios, TV, they had something different every day. So that was something that we did.
I love that. Yeah. So Carlos first, and then Alessia. Carlos.
I would like to, Carlos Jimenez from Puerto Rico, and I would like to address what we did, what we're doing in Puerto Rico. I have been in doing Global Entrepreneurship Week for 5, 6 years. I don't know how many. But one thing that we do, we send the invitations to all the players in the ecosystem, and we meet once a month by Zoom or by in a local place, physical, and everybody has to tell what's the activity that they are doing, very organized way. And the first thing that we do is we take a list and who is in, who is in the room. But the most important thing that we do is who is not in the room. So after we know what are the activities that everybody's doing this year, then we see and we go through, okay, this is addressing this topic. This one is addressing this industry. This one is addressing what is missing. And we are always asking ourselves what is missing. So last year, we were missing LGBT representation. So we called them up and they were in. We saw that we didn't have any media, and we called them up so they could cover some of the stuff. And so we are always searching for what is missing on the meeting and what is not, and we do it by industry. We take the 4 themes that the Global Entrepreneurship give us, like education and policy. And like for this year, we understood that there was no activity going for policy. So we challenged the youth group, to make an activity this year. Next year is election, so they call up the politicians, and they are doing an activity to policy for youth in entrepreneurship. So ask yourself what is missing when you're doing the reunion and when you're getting together. See who is not at the table and invite them.
I love that. That's a great thing. Alessia?
Great point there. And actually, thank you. We have some spots that we need to cover. Yeah, give a piece of thought. So the other thing that another point that I want to make as well with rural entrepreneurs and with our programs, we try to do it in November and giving them a little bit of flexibility, because for 3 years in a row we have elections. So it's going to be parliamentary and local, all of them happening in November. So we give them room for kind of being within the framework of November, and they can organize their week and their programs accordingly. And we can help them and we can support them. And that was, when we started, it was, I remember that spreadsheet, Bank of Ideas. So basically that spreadsheet we were using and every time editing and giving it to different agencies to run it. And especially since we ran a program, entrepreneurial engagement in schools, it was very useful for the schools to think of different formats of how they can organize, having the freedom to select the date, the days, and they were organizing expositions, exhibitions, and we would rate what were the best ones and giving them prizes with the help of the capital city, with the mayorship, and for high impact events, and 6 criteria were used for that. If you have a brand, if you have, if you exposed, if you gave us back the report so we can place it, because as we said previously, it was difficult for them to do it on their own. And as many clear pictures, we can promote that. And the students were also encouraged to participate in the entrepreneurial engagement in schools by actually a pitching competition. So all of the schools that participated, they had that opportunity to invite the students, and then they would participate in a national competition at the end in December, because it's 1 month, November, and then before Christmas, they would get presents. So it was a really, really great partnership.
So I want to highlight a couple of points that people were talking about. You know, media is always looking for content, right? Because the news broadcasts, the newspapers, things like that, they get printed or they get shared every single day. And so there are people that are always looking for a story. And as Renee pointed out, because global entrepreneurship is the whole week, then doing different sector themes can actually target and also keep your content fresh. That's really important. If you don't have a relationship with somebody in media in your local communities or across the nation, then make sure that you do. Then we talked about the guides. So we don't necessarily have much for global, but the guides that Carlos was referring to in the United States, because Jen is the Global Entrepreneurship Week host, people like Aiden and Robert, they contribute to the host guides, and host guides are very sector specific. So we talk about LGBTQ+, we have one for military, we have, what else? Colleges and universities. So that's a question for all of you. While we focus on that for the United States, if something like that would be helpful, we would love for you to give your ideas in order to share. The other thing that was referred to as the bank of ideas, and that information actually should come from you, not us generating that, because we have the hive mind of all these people when we talk about the kinds of programs that we did. Those ideas come from all of you, and then we share them out to the wider community. We just become the repository and the place that you can look at. Go ahead, Mark.
So one of the things that I've wanted to do is a more interactive version of that ideas bank, right? I think that's something that could benefit everybody. And so if there was a way for us to kind of share that, and I mean, so it kind of dovetails into the web conversation. You know, I think one of the things we could easily do is encourage everyone, you know, if you've got an idea that you want to share with the community broadly, upload it to the website, right? And then what we'll be able to do on the back end is tag that as an idea, and then we can build a view that people can then filter those ideas, right? So we'll build a view, we'll build that ideas bank, and we'll put some filters in there so that way if you want to have it, if there's a specific target audience, if it's focused on, you know, women entrepreneurs or different segments like military, like Cecilia, like you said, or if there are different aspects of that, we can tag those things, and that way you'll each have a few that you're going to contribute to that ideas bank, but more importantly, then you're going to have a couple hundred of ideas that are in there that you could share with your partners.
Okay, hang on. So I've got Fatia and Sally, you wanted to share something, and I also want to call on Jorge Luis in just a second, because we talked about youth, and I want to touch on that subject, because from what we see, one of the things that Carlos mentioned, besides the importance of identifying where the gaps are, so we talk about stakeholder engagement, who's at the table and also who's missing, which is a very important thing. But he mentioned that they have regular meetings. So Global Entrepreneurship Week is 1 week in the middle of November, okay? And everybody thinks that it all happens magically in that week, and we know that's not true. And the secret that all of you know that other people don't is that Global Entrepreneurship Week is actually a community building tool. The way that you build community is that you engage all these people all year long, right? So that when it comes to that week, then all this wonderful showcase stuff happens to the rest of the public. But what you're doing the other 11 months out of the year is you're building community, because you're talking to each other, you're inviting each other into conversations that you would not normally have, and it is the one thing we can only do together. So that's what we want to talk about. Fatia, tell them who you are.
Excuse me. Fatiha Rajdi, I am MD of Algeria. I'm going to speak a little bit about the story, because there is evolution of how we make GEW phenomenal in our country. We start at the beginning with 3 cities, and we observe who is the actors or the stakeholders who can make it. In the first time, in 2012, we spread the word and organized the activity in the university with the students. And we think in our mindset that it's possible to be everywhere and to do everything. And we stop, because Jen, at this time, it was GEW, not Jen. Jen, it's in 2014, tell us that we need to be a catalyzer. And after this, the student will be, sont devenus? Will be ambassador. And students ambassador organize activities in the university. After that, to pursue what Cecilia tell now, this ambassador organized after the GEW, ESA, Entrepreneurship Summer School, and Fortuna was there. She can speak about it. It's a phenomenal event organized by our ambassador who work in GEW. And it was a success about that, to involve our ambassador, GEW, in activity all of the year, and to have with us partnership with GEW in other countries. We have UK, we have Moldova, we have the representative of this country came in Algeria and was with us in ESA. And it was phenomenal. But after that, we think, and we say that there isn't impact in ecosystem. There is an impact in the university. There is a movement in the university. And this movement to today, but there isn't impact in ecosystem, local ecosystem principally. Why? Our country is big, very big, and it isn't possible to impact from the university to the city. And we change the support of the government. At the beginning, the support is just to say that this event is sponsored by the Minister of Industry. But after that, you think, no, the minister must be involved in all the cities. And we speak about them, we explain, and we demonstrate that it's important that they be involved. Why? Because they have a possibility to support community locally in organizing events. And we start organizing in 48 cities, and after that in 68 cities. What I can see, to don't be long, because we can after that continue to speak about that in our program, gender, equality gender, and it's in all our program. The first thing, when we find that the media, it's too difficult to involve them. We organize a program that the theme is Media Entrepreneurship Program. And Mark came to us in Algeria and trained with us media. And we start with Media Entrepreneurship Program, and we have a relationship, a strong relationship with the media. And after that, if you write in Google GEW Algeria, it's very, very important article and video, and it's very huge because media is with us. It's partner by the Media Entrepreneurship Program. And we have another program, IBDA Challenge for the children, and Women Entrepreneurship Program. And Women Entrepreneurship Program changed life of 1,000 women in our country. We understand that women don't let the companies grow, and we decide to work to help women growing the company, to be more profitable and to succeed. And I think that about metrics, I have just information that our partners, we have 35% of our partners cannot put their activities in the platform. There is technical problem, or maybe they don't know how they can do that. And all we have, and to succeed, we have just 65% of the result. 35% isn't in the metrics, just to know that. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that we can talk about is something that Gary helps support with, called bulk uploading.
Yeah, so we do have a bulk upload tool option for people who have a bunch of events and they don't have the capacity to maybe get them on the website. And so that is an option when it comes to Global Entrepreneurship Week. And so we have resources and tools to support that.
So it's basically like a big spreadsheet that you can have events listed, and
I can jump in. So, for us, I mentioned earlier, from a metrics perspective and data, it's better for us if we get the partner organizations that are actually conducting events on the ground to register a profile on the platform and upload the event themselves. But as Gary mentioned and Cecilia mentioned, we do have a way around that. As Fatia mentioned, 35%, for those that can't do it or don't know how to do it. Alessia, we talked about it yesterday a little bit. For us, the important bit is the information on who's organizing that event, so which organization, and then an email address of a contact with that organization. And we can actually create the profiles from that data and upload it to the site ourselves. And so that way it's not just the user profile we're creating that's attached to that email address, it's also the event data that goes into it. And so that's super helpful. selfishly for us, for our research purposes, it's super helpful for us in terms of communicating the scale, the true scale of the campaign. We always talk about 40,000 different events, but if you look at the site and the leaderboard that we have, it's a fraction of that. Now, thankfully, Algeria had, I think, somewhere around 3,500 events that were added to the platform last year. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I know that, I know those 40,000 events that are out there. And so whatever we can do that helps, to kind of show that scale, but it also helps all of you with all of your campaigns, and it helps the actual event organizers themselves in terms of promoting their events to the community and for, making those available. So that way, if people on the ground want to participate, they can find those. So that way, as mentioned previously, GW is about reaching new audiences. It's not about finding the entrepreneurs who are already involved in the ecosystem. It's about getting more people connected with those partner organizations, whether they're schools, whether they're chambers of commerce, no matter, support organizations, no matter who they are. So we have that tool available. We'll make that a little easier to navigate. It's constantly a little bit of a battle. I personally have to thank Gary last year for helping us out and troubleshooting a few items there, but whatever it takes for us to make it as easy as possible for all of you to get that data into the site, we're committed to doing that.
So as we listen to Salah and Robert and Noose, the other thing that we want to remember is, while we get all of that information from you about all the events that are happening during Global Entrepreneurship Week, right now, from post GEC to Global Entrepreneurship Week, there's about a month and a half. That month and a half is prime time to showcase what you're doing. So if you already know that you have programs, you will get more eyes and visibility right now than you will during Global Entrepreneurship Week, when there are so many things that are happening. So we really strongly encourage you to share that now so we can showcase it, because we're looking for content too. Salah?
Thank you. My name is Salah. I'm from the state of Palestine. I'm the local chapter host of GW Palestine. I would like to talk, before we talk about stakeholders, engagement, and media, I would like to talk about our story, how we started. It was back in 2013, we were like, I remember, we took the content and we talked to all the organizations. Unfortunately, we had only 4 organizations sitting in a round table, believing in what we want to do. Today, we have 185 Palestinian organizations as our partners. We launched almost 200 events. We expanded week to 3 days before and after to be able to work with everybody. What we have done during the year is we started unstructured, going to the people and the organizations, talking about GW. But then we have found out that there are 4 more important organizations, sectors. One, the private sector. So we took the champions that are working on the ground and doing business with the startups by either supporting them through the CSR, like we have a couple of banks do that, or other companies in the telecommunication that try to engage with the youth and entrepreneurs. So we took them as champions to us. We found out that led us to have them wanting the others to compete. Like, we found it like their competition. So the telecommunication company we talked to, we saw the other one coming to us and saying, like, why we're not included? So we took that example and we started doing it with the other sectors. So that's the first one, the private sector. The second one was the government. So we talked to the ministers at the beginning. We were really, didn't see any interest from them. But when we picked a minister to be our champion the second year, we have found out that the third year, the other ministers came to us and said, why we're not included? So we started doing these campaigns in this way. We divided in 4 sectors: the private sector, the public sector, the NGOs, the organizations that support youth and entrepreneurs, and we go to them and we campaign for them, and they do the work for us now. The fourth one was the universities, and honestly, this is extraordinary because the universities, for the structure they have in Palestine, is a little bit difficult to engage with them, with the many layers inside the universities. So what we have done is we picked two major Palestinian universities, one in the West Bank and one in Gaza, and we campaigned for them. Like we did a campaign on GW showcasing what they're doing with the youth. And we found out that now, last year, we had 15 universities out of the 16. This year, we want to engage with the 16 missing. And all of them competing to do events during the week. Like we reached out to a point that one university had 11 events during the week from one university. They have, the president of the university said, this week is an icon. We have to make sure that all the faculties are engaged, and we took it from there. To go back to the stakeholder engagement, so what we have done is, as I said, we took the main exposed organizations, and then we started from them to talk to the others. So the private sector now, by September every year, we don't reach out to them, they reach out to us, what's the story for this year in GW? At the beginning, when we started also engaging, we picked the startups, the entrepreneurs. But we have found out that that was not enough, so we went to the organization that support them. So what we do now is like we took the platform of GEW in a way that these organizations showcase their business and showcase their products and how they engage, and we promote it for them. And on the other hand, we try to, through that platform, get the startups go to these organizations. So we have a 1 week, during the week, we have a one event that is only for networking. We call it Mix and Mentor, where we bring these organizations, we bring the startups, and we put them in one room and tell them, you talk to each other. We don't want to know what's going to happen, but that's the platform for you. To talk back to the media. So because at the beginning we were not, Palestine is under occupation, movement is very difficult, or communication is very difficult. So to do so, what we have done is we picked the major outlets of media. We told them we don't want money from you. We just want you to be part of this platform, and we will promote you regionally. We had to pay money at the beginning to reach out to Jordan, to reach out to the regional neighboring by sending articles, by paying for the articles to tell them what's going on in Palestine about GW. This led us to have all the other media wanting to be part of the GEW as an in-kind. So if you see our branding every year, you will find out there's the main sponsors and there's the media outlets. We put as much as possible there because it's now became like a way that we don't talk to them, they come to us. So the TV September call us to ask us who would like to interview. We could put this private sector, the public sector, the universities. So we use the platform just to promote the others, and automatically they come back to us, and we're growing. I mean, our hope and our future with GEW is to be on the global map, for Palestine, because it's very important for Palestine, what's going on in the political situation. So GEW, we see it as our icon event. It became, by default, a national event that everybody waits for. I'm happy to chat with you after on how do we do that and how do we engage with all the stakeholders. Thank you.
My name is Robert Blackledge. I'm the executive director at a nonprofit incubator in Florida and then the state coordinator for Florida. So I wanted to go back to the bulk upload because that's really important for us because I don't know how you all have, but there's hundreds of calendars basically is what it feels like. And so we use Google Forms with all the required different aspects, those different forms from different communities. And then we're able to, because that's outputs to a sheet, a Google sheet, or it's like Excel, and we can pick what different aspects we want to give to each of those different organizations, or we can just share the whole form with them. And it makes it really easy for us to get our events on a lot of different calendars and exposure to the entire community and beyond. We also have a state calendar, and so those, I think that important bulk upload is incredibly crucial because if we didn't have that, the idea of putting in individual events, it just becomes a huge lift for us. So just wanted to touch on that.
No, we appreciate that. And actually, one of the things that we really encourage is have them upload their own stuff, right? That's what you want to do. You want to encourage them to do it. And then you want to make sure that you have a checks and balances. So if they check off the box that say, yes, here's our name, here's our event, here's our email address, and then have a little checkbox that says, I uploaded the thing. You give, extra thumbs up to the people who've done that. Then this way you also know that you have a list, but we also can utilize the fact that they did it. News?
Thank you, Cecilia. Good morning, everyone. It's News from GeoSpain. We have been running GeoSpain for a long time now. And basically, we, in Autocompassion, the company that is running the Week of the Entrepreneurs, and what we do is during the week, just to upload the events that are taking place, I prepare basically a manual, just like what we have, like in the super easy way to understand. Like it's full of screenshots, just to being like it's easy going. Like even there's no letter, just follow step by step, and it works a lot. So we share this with the stakeholders, just to bring them the opportunity to do it by itself, and we rate like 50% since last year, so it was working pretty well. But also what we have to do a lot of times is doing by ourselves. So we give the chance them to do it by their own, but if they couldn't, we talk with them by phone and we do it together in a call. This is a lot of time. It's true, but also what we do is in the foundation where I work in Autocompassion, we have a lot of training programs for the youth entrepreneurs or people who's looking for a job, and they have to do an internship during October and November. So we contract them to help us in doing this for us, because it's an easy way that they can just work for a lot of things. We help us with social media, they help us with taking care of the stakeholders, opening our database from all the people that's related in ecosystem in Spain. And another thing that we also do, and it's really useful, then I think Algeria did it too, is that Spain needs big space. Every kind of region of Spain have like a lot of particularities. Like it's not the same happening in Catalonia or in Andalusia that in the base country. So we took like insight ambassadors that can provide more movement in the stakeholders in the region. And last year, we worked with Deusto University, that's in the base country, and they make awesome work because they do the entrepreneurship week on the university. They do TED Talks inside. There was cover media for all the places. Because it's not cover media, it's so difficult for us. We have to pay to arrive to newspaper or TV media or radio media. And just if happens like big events in universities, it's the best, I think, because students do a lot of posts on Instagram and they are really in social media, and it's helping us to get more knowledge about it. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I want to extend along that. So Fatia you mentioned the energy of youth. First of all, they need work experience, right? They need to showcase the things that they do. And so this gives them an opportunity to get involved. Challenging youth to do something always inspires and gets more movement. I think one of the reasons, the reason I wanted to ask Jorge Luis is he's been involved in junior achievement. That's the other thing that he does. Mary's sitting alongside of him, also involved in junior achievement. That youth energy, right? For a lot of young people, this is the invitation that entrepreneurship is an actual path or an opportunity for them. And they're more involved in social media than most of us are in this room, right? So catalyzing that to be able to expand will actually help you. They can extend. So Jorge Luis, will you share with us why you got involved? You've been involved in junior achievement for a really long time, right? And then why did Global Entrepreneurship Week work for you?
Okay, let me tell you the whole story in a very short time. Yes, I have been with Junior Achievement for 26 years. My name is Jorge Luis Burgos from Panama. I am the founder, executive director of Junior Achievement for Panama. At that time, 26 years ago, we started to expand the junior achievement around the globe, and now we are in 115 countries. When we started, we were doing a great job, and we were doing everything for our youth, reaching students from 5 years old to 18 years old, and in 3 pillars. And this is, one is entrepreneurship, the second one is financial health, and the third one is work readiness, okay? And then one day appeared Global Entrepreneurship Week. At that time, the network did not exist at that time, and then they were started to sail during a period of 3 years, telling us what the project was about. The Global Entrepreneurship Week is a very brilliant concept. It is a communication campaign, communication to start, to make visible everything we were doing. And in junior achievement, we were doing a lot of things, but never say we were something like the best kept secret. It was locked on the safe, in the safe, and then we discovered that Global Entrepreneurship Network will push us to make visible everything we were doing, and then we started to talk to other people because we realized, on the other hand, that we as Junior Achievement couldn't grow and couldn't make it a national project. We started by ourselves, implementing our programs, and we wanted to show big numbers, and we said, we only reach 11 to 17,000 students per year. That's a lot in Panama. But it is only 17,000. It is not 4.2 million people. And then we started to talk with other actors, natural actors, in our ecosystem, like universities. And then the universities were very slow because they didn't know how to implement, be part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week because they didn't want to put any money on the table, and they wanted to make it profitable. And then we found the government, and with the government, things are easier. You were talking about the communication. Okay, we use the government because government is always on the news. Everybody wants to know something about a new law. And then when government calls the media, everybody goes. So we are behind the government, and we say, hey, Global Entrepreneurship Week, and they call the media, and everybody go, and we can amplify what we are doing. So for us, in Junior Achievement, this is the perfect match because we have the content for the local programs, and the Global Entrepreneurship Week gives us the way to amplify what we already are doing, and we have been inviting other actors in our ecosystem, like in Argelia, and it is working for them. On the other side, what Rene was saying, you were saying, Cecilia, we need to talk about Global Entrepreneurship Week during the whole year. It is not a week, and that is true. We have meetings during the year, not just because of Global Entrepreneurship Week. We, as the host, need to be part of different organizations in our countries in order to have a voice everywhere. Not this, no, this is the meeting for Global Entrepreneurship Week. No, that is not. We are part of the Chamber of Commerce. When we are there, we talk to everybody and say, hey, remember, in November, we are going to hold the Global Entrepreneurship Week. Then we have in Panama, back when the GEN concept born in Medellin, we were another concept as the National Entrepreneurship Council was born in Panama at the same time, and that was by a chance. It was a process, and in the whole Central American countries, the process was starting in the same way. And then we created, by an executive decree signed by the President of the Republic, that National Entrepreneurship Council, and the most important actors in the ecosystems are members of that council. So when we have around 2 meetings per year, so that's a perfect place to say, hey, remember the Global Entrepreneurship Week. Remember, we have a manual to upload the activities. You need to explain them. What is the Global Entrepreneurship Week, and what can they achieve with the Global Entrepreneurship Week? And let me tell you something, it helped a lot. The board leadership, the leaderboard, okay, now they see the name of their institutions and they say Panama, University of blah, 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 and many participants, many activities, and they say, wow, we are there. That's very important. I think we need to, as a collective, we need to work a little more on this leaderboard, because it's a good sales point to the participants. And I think it's enough.
No, I love that. So we talk about cooperation, right? So you're cooperating on something, but there's a little bit of competition involved. And I know that this is what happened last year between Robert and Cameron and the people in Texas. So it was like in the United States, we had Florida up here, and then all the Texas momentum going on, and then Cameron's like, oh, hang on a second, we've got stuff going on in California. So that cooperation is actually very healthy to be able to move things forward. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's great. I do want to shift the conversation a little bit and talk a little bit about sustainability. I think stakeholder engagement plays well with sustainability, and so we're just curious on, like, how are you sustainable? How do you fund your campaign for those who have to fund their campaign? What does that look like? How do you structure your ask to potential funders?
Okay, right now, you mean you are talking about the funding of the activities? Everybody is funding their own activities. Nobody, no company is giving us funds for any activity. But the government is getting some funding, but a little funding, and to hold some trade fairs. But that's that's the only thing I have heard. But everybody, the universities, the guilds, all of them are making their own activities with their own funding. They don't have a special budget for that. And how can we give sustainability to the process? Okay, we need to be training all the companies, all the institutions, all year round, every year, because the people is changing. That's the only way we have found to continue with the process. And every 5 years, in our countries, especially in Latin America, I heard that in European countries, they have a parliament and they can have one election per year. In Latin America, it doesn't happen. We have one election every 4 or 5 years. And when we changed the president, we changed everything. And we lost all the connections. So sustainability to us is, as a Global Entrepreneurship Week host, is to be sure that we are the communication media between one government and the next government. That's the most important thing. After that, well, to tell everybody that it's very important to showcase what we are doing in entrepreneurship matters.
So let me share with you a couple of things, a couple of tools that you have. And it doesn't happen in all the countries, depending on your level of development. But because Jen is a Washington, D.C. based nonprofit, we actually have communications with the U.S. State Department on a fairly regular basis. So we coordinate with the people that are in the Consumer Bureau and the Economic Development part of the U.S. State Department. Every year, we send a communique out to the State Department, and they send it out to their missions around the world. So the missions around the world, the embassies and the consulate, at least the U.S. State Department, have knowledge of Global Entrepreneurship Week. Whether or not they have funds that they will share, that is really helpful if you have a relationship with that. I know governments of Germany, of the UK, of France also have similar initiatives. So that is an opportunity, depending on what their focus is in your country. I know that they've funded, so I was speaking with Omar in Comoros. He solicited the U.S. State Department and got funding, I think, for 3 years worth of initiatives to support Global Entrepreneurship Week. So anywhere that we can connect you with, and we would strongly encourage you to connect with the missions. I know that RKW, our Global Entrepreneurship Week, hosts in Germany. One of the things that they do, and engaging stakeholder engagement, but also in getting the private sector, like Sally talked about, engaged, is that there are organizations like law firms, accounting services, things like that, that do wraparound services around entrepreneurs, right? And they're always looking for new clients. Well, with RKW, they can host office hours, or what we call AMAs, Ask Me Anythings. Like, they can host a session for entrepreneurs and make it part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. The only stipulation that RKW has is you cannot charge the people that come to those sessions during Global Entrepreneurship Week. So for the private sectors, that's free opportunity to engage an audience that they may not already engage with. It makes for great marketing, but the founders benefit because they get expertise or advice or all kinds of things. So it's a win-win situation. And when you're able to engage in it, sometimes co-working spaces, universities, they open up space. So they already have space available. They host happy hours, they host networking events, they host all kinds of things because they want people to come in their doors. And this is an opportunity to engage. So that's what I would invite you to do, is think about the things that you need. So talking about sustainability, besides the sponsorship and the funds, that you need in-kind donations. And that's a great way to engage your community. The other thing that people may not know is that because we're a nonprofit, we actually have an organization, GEW, that we can help be the fiscal agent of your grants and sponsorships that you receive from certain entities. Is that right? So.
I don't want to get into the details because we leave that to our CFO, but that is something that a couple of people or a couple of campaigns have utilized. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, definitely connect with one of the three of us at some point in time here, and we'll make sure we get you the right information.
Is that a fiscal agent are you talking about?
Yeah. Because some of your organizations are for-profit organizations, right? Or you're part of agencies or things like that, and you cannot receive the philanthropic dollars into your organization. Jen, there's a separate part of it, GEW, which is an entity that can serve as a fiscal agent. There is an administrative fee, but basically we can help host that.
And I know that we do that in a couple of cities in the US, for example. I don't know that we've actually done that, played that role, globally, but that's something we could certainly explore.
Questions, comments? Malika, you had your hand up? No? Oh, yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. My name is Sean Richards. I'm from Canada. Last year, I was appointed an ambassador through Futurepreneur, the work week, one of the 4 ambassadors. And I anchored, I took care of the Atlantic region side. And I was able to do some activities from Monday to Sunday. But, interestingly, I was able to, as a PhD student, studying entrepreneurship, I was able to get involved with my supervisor. I was also able to get, the ecosystem enablers, incubators in the city, as well as the minister for small business in the province was also able to attend. And yeah, we did something very good, and we had about more than 70 entrepreneurs in the junior center. So now my question is this. Last year was kind of, I would say, a bit stressful because it was, we didn't have the right support from Futurepreneur. Right? It was just as though just, this is the mandate and they just, just play it. But just coming fresh from the from the G20 summit, Young Entrepreneurship Summit, just some weeks before, I was able to gather, some ideas and they just implemented. But it was great. So this year, I've been speaking to them, and they've re-echoed and said, hey, this year we really don't have anything to support in terms of funding. I understand that Futurepreneur pays more attention to G20 Young Entrepreneurs Summit, which is like a flagship, So how do you manage a situation like that, where your partner in the country is focused on another, organization or another event as a flagship, rather than the, global entrepreneurship, which, in my opinion, has a broader scope, as can accommodate a lot of people, not age, no age barrier, and it's wide. So how do you? Just some ideas.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's important. So there are organizations, many of you are Global Entrepreneurship Week national hosts. But remember that Global Entrepreneurship Week is an open source program. Anyone, anywhere is invited to get involved. That means that you don't need permission from whoever. You want to add something to the platform, you want to add an event to the platform, you are very welcome to do that, and we would love for you to do that. And I think as we as an organization, we evaluate and assess the strength of the things that happen, but we can only work on the information that we have, right? So every year we send out information, and every year we collect it. We've been working very hard, Gary and I, to be engaged on a regular basis. So there is a communication channel that GEW hosts have. One of the things that Nios brought up about the guide that they do, the screenshots and stuff, that's done within their organization. But I think that that's a great tool, and so I'm going to ask her and invite her to maybe share what she has, if that's okay, with others in the platform. We've had state coordinator calls that Aiden and Robert have been on, where somebody has said, I got my mayor or my governor or whatever to create a proclamation to say, all the politicians, they like to do this. They say, this is Global Entrepreneurship Week and I advocate for it, and then they put their little stamp on it. Well, some other states didn't have that. So the people who were able to do it shared how they did it with their colleagues. You are all each other's colleagues. You have the expertise, the experience, the knowledge that we can share together. So the invitation is, if you have a resource, please share it with everybody else. If you want to get engaged or you have a question, you can ask the three of us, and I will tell you very candidly, we don't have all the answers. All of you have a lot of the answers, right? And so we know we have the benefit of knowing where to go to find some of the answers because really, candidly, we ask you. So I will contact Ayla and say, hey, how did you do the thing? They've rung the bell at the stock exchange all the time. Well, maybe you have a stock exchange and you want to ring the bell. So ask her, don't ask me, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you in touch with her so she can tell you. All right? Communicate with each other. The strength of a network is only as good as each one of us that are in it, right? And this is not, it's funny when you talk to entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are very secretive about their idea because they're afraid somebody's going to steal their idea. This doesn't happen this way in a network. We are only as smart as everybody in this room. And I think that we may not have all the answers. We at Gen definitely don't have all the answers, but we have all of you. That's what makes us smarter, right? That's what makes us more powerful, is the fact that we have this hive mind, this incredible community that is so wonderful because you're all in it. So remember, even as a community organizer, state coordinator, GEW host for your country, people don't need to ask you for permission, right? You want to engage them in the thing that you do, because the ecosystem is about all the elements. Everybody who knows, and also the people that don't yet know that they're part of the ecosystem. The academics, the policymakers, the private sector, every single business was at one time a baby business. Go find those founders, because they're the ones that are going to inspire the people that are new at this, right? So your powerful entrepreneurs, the sexy names that you want in your campaign, remind them that they were an entrepreneur at one time and they needed help, right? And it's the ecosystem builders, which are all of you, that help support that, help navigate, help connect with resources. That's what we want to make sure. And the more ecosystem builders we have, the more exponentially we can support the entrepreneurs in our community. And talking about entrepreneurs in our community, the theme this year, for those of you who may not have seen, it's Entrepreneurs Thrive Here. Okay, so that's the big campaign. In the following week or two, after Gary and I get caught up on some sleep, we should be sharing with you. If you're not already in the Slack channel, please let us know. We'll invite you to the Slack channel. We're going to put together a video. I want to see all your beautiful faces on this video. And extra points if you actually go stand in front of something that showcases where you're from. So palm trees and big landmarks and things like that. I want you to record you saying who you are, where you represent, and then Entrepreneurs Thrive Here. So we'll be sending out a very short script. Now, considering how many people are in this room, if you go on and on, it's a very long video. Nobody's going to watch it. But we would love to hear from all of you some things. So, Gary, can you tell them about that?
Yeah, I'll share more about that. So, the main theme for Global Entrepreneurship Week this year is Entrepreneurs Thrive Here. To help emphasize our shared commitment to make it easier for anyone, anywhere to start and scale, we're going to plan to release a video on reasons why entrepreneurs thrive around the world. And so our ask is for you to create a 20-second or less video. You can film in a well-lit location, and we ask that you speak clearly. And if you're in a location with a background that helps us understand where you are in the world, maybe a landmark or signage, that would be great. We'll be sending out more information about that, but we want to create this like montage video where we collect and put it together to show representation of where everyone is. And so more to come, but just wanted to plot that for you all while you're here.
So you don't have to, so the idea is we're going to use a platform that actually will take all these little vignettes of videos and compile them all together. So it's not you recording your own video and emailing it to us. It is actually you going on this shared platform, and it will give you an opportunity. You can record it on your phone, upload the video, invite other people to be with you, whatever that looks like, so that that if the background is a really recognizable thing, that also makes it really sexy, right? So, and I want to be mindful of time. I also want you to be able to eat and talk to each other and all of those things. But also, because we're all here, what's a question that you have? We talk about BHAGs. Does anyone know what a BHAG is? Yes? What is it? Yeah. So the acronym BHAG, it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. I want you to have big goals, right? If your dream is not big enough that it scares you, your dream is not big enough. The other thing is that the difference between a dream and a goal is that plan to get you there. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be starting a workshop. The workshop is from 9 to 1, and the workshop is about you as an individual, as a representative of an organization in a country, to put together some kind of goal. In the past, some of our managing directors will tell you, we would share a canvas or a template and say, go and fill this out. It'll give you some idea of how to get there. It's good, but it's not enough. We have collected all these people here, wonderful resources. We have our research experts, some people that know a lot about research. We have policymakers here that you can never get a hold of when you're back home. We also have our Gen staff, and we have all of you. So the idea of tomorrow's workshop is that you're going to put together a goal. This is what I want to do from now until the next GEC, for now and for the next 3 months, 6 months. This is what I want to achieve for your organization, your country. And we're going to talk in the room about those things that we talked about. Stakeholder engagement. In order for me to reach this goal, what do I need to do? Who do I need to connect with? How do I connect with that person, right? Talking about the metrics. What is it that I'm measuring so that I can articulate in the communication and storytelling the thing that I'm working on? And how am I going to fund it, get it sponsored, create some kind of revenue around it so that you can be sustainable? So tomorrow is a goal setting workshop. So have an idea that you want to do. We're going to work together with all of the people that you see around you that come, and it will take place tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the other side of the convention center. We'll give you a template, but the idea is that you don't have to do it alone, right? So what is it that they said? If you want to run faster, then you do it with others. So anyway, that's our invitation to you. But for the next couple of minutes, we're here. If you have a question, if you have something you want to share.
If I may, I need to leave in 2 minutes, and if I can say just a few words. Okay. Okay, so first of all, one thing that we learned on the way, that sometimes you have to speak to the top guy or woman. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work if you speak to the lower grades. A good example is we have a program called Roots. Okay, so this is a program in which successful entrepreneurs that grew up in the social periphery go back to the school where they studied. And they say, look, I was sitting on this bench, and now I'm a CEO of a startup company that's just raised $16 million. Okay, so that's, but when you talk to the schools, sometimes they don't want the entrepreneurs to come. Okay, and I had this case when one of Israel's best women entrepreneurs, one of the first entrepreneurs, a woman who changed the world, was trying to go to the school, and the secretaries would not let us say that. And I took the phone and I said, look, we're creating history for you. And then I got to talk to the headmaster. So oftentimes it also happened with the stock exchange. Okay, we approached the stock exchange in Israel, and they ignored us. But then somebody I knew put us in touch with the general manager of the stock exchange, and he loved the idea, and that's how we started. So, oftentimes you just have to get to the number one person in the organization for something to work. So this is one piece of advice. Another thing that we found very useful is the fact that there's another, peak point taking place in March. So March 8th is International Women's Day, right? Everybody knows that. A lot of organizations work around this. So we do stuff. So we have two, one in the autumn, that's Global Entrepreneurship Week, one in the spring, International Women's Day. It creates energy because we're focused around a particular goal. And the last thing that I wanted to say, and I apologize that I have to leave, is that the team here, they speak about us being a powerful group, but the team here running this organization is amazing, and I think you all know this. So just remember that these people are just incredible. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think my question is, I'd love to hear about what events really stood out, like beyond speakers, beyond networking events, beyond panels. Is there anything you've done in your communities that really just stood out as an event that made a real big impact for you all? I can share one too to start, but we get mentor matching, and we do it kind of in a round table. So we get the entrepreneurs in a room, and they sit, and the mentor kind of moves through the room, and so they get different perspectives on their different companies. I found that to be really impactful for the entrepreneurs because they were able to get different perspectives and get insights from those different mentors in our community.
Yeah, so I'm Aiden Batista from Indiana. We host, in May of every year, we host the largest high school pitch competition. So this year we're seeing a lot of momentum around high school pitch competitions in preparation for that. So just highlighting that and emphasizing entrepreneurship within our schools and high schools and grade schools. So it's just been cool to see.
So if I could just double down on that. Don, who leads that initiative or is part of that initiative, is going to be downstairs at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And there is a group Alex has brought. They're German students that go to the international school here in Australia. This is a really global initiative, right? So German students, international school here in Australia. And one of the judges for the high school pitch competition is Don from Indiana. So that's what we get to do, right? One of the other things that we did was connecting Renee, who got educated in the United States, Global Entrepreneurship Week host in Bolivia, connected with our state coordinator in Arkansas because he went to school there. Alessia has connectivity, so Moldovan entrepreneurs, and the state of Indiana actually has a collaboration. North Carolina, sorry.
Actually,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay, state of North Carolina has an initiative. So they have a Secretary of State for North Carolina who's been on calls with Moldovan founders. This is stuff that happens only because.
By the way, she's coming for next week, 7th to 14th of October, to visit us, and we are going to take her to see all these entrepreneurs that she's been hosting.
So you were going to share something, Renee?
Yes, something that really works when Leah said that you have to go and talk to the top of the people, the top of the organizations, is when you go and talk to the deans of the universities. And for example, in a small city in Bolivia, Oruro, there are not too many things to do, even at night because it's really cold. But we visit the authorities, the local authorities and the university. They do have 30,000 students. And we say, let's put together the Global Entrepreneurship Week from Oruro to the rest of the world. And what they did is, in each career, or how you say, each profession, like the engineers, the doctors, or the future doctors, and accountants, and everybody decided to have their own activity inside the university. And what they did is, around the fences, they just put a lot of information and the logos of the GEN. And we had 30,000 people during the week listening about entrepreneurship, talking about that. But when we finish, the mayor call and say, next year, 2023, we want to be the city that is going to start the activities for the country. So now we are working on that. This morning I was sending emails to the people in Oruro to be ready to visit the mayor, the governor, and the dean of the university. So I think there's so much ideas that can be together, but something that also we did in order to internationalize this, and here is Jorge, Roberto, we did it with Chile, with Corfo, Peru. We put together webinars so they can see what we are doing and also invite people to be part of that webinar. And we did it for almost 3 months, every week talking each other. So when you show the Global Entrepreneurship Week that is in your country, also you can put together webinars with other countries, and that will also fertilize the network.
Any other things you want to brag on yourself? Go ahead.
One activity that we're doing this year for the first time, it's in our country we have a very small agricultural products, so we are importing many products. So we identify one local company that imports from the exterior agricultural products. So we are meeting, we're putting together the brand, distribution, and the local agricultural people to fill in the products for him. So we are trying to reduce importing, and that's one of the activities that we're doing with the youth. They are helping from the different universities, and they are identifying right now who are those agriculture persons who are doing the food that has to be packaged. So we are trying to get them together in the Global Entrepreneurship Week, so they can, instead of keep importing, we are trying to substitute the products for local.
Thank you.
Just as a final comment from my part, when what you said, Cecilia, is very important. We need to tell a story, and to tell a story, you need to think on this. No more stories without numbers, and no more numbers without stories.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Did everyone hear that? It's great wisdom coming from Panama. Mark, anything you want to share?
No, not really. I'm just going to steal that from Jorge, so. I'll give you proper attribution, of course.
When you see the logo, Also, United Nations with the Sustainable Development Goals, they do have that. And one day,
We had it first, but thank you.
I know, that's why I mentioned. One day we were going to have a meeting with the United Nations in order to get some financing for activities. So they say, well, let's choose which one we're going to put in there, you know? And they're almost the same. And then another groups, also Global Catalytics 2023, that they talk about this, they also have a logo related. So that's something that helps a lot to show to everybody that we were the first. And what we need to do is use it in every activity that you have during the year. No, for example, years ago, they have to ask me if they can put the logo. So we put some rules. If it's with young people, is it entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology, and now gender, and also sustainable development, or things that are coming from the rural area, use the logo. And it's going to help a lot for this year, and you're going to see that.
Any other questions or comments?
Good morning, Cecilia.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abid. I'm from ICT Agency of Sri Lanka. One of the things that last year, which I believe we uniquely did, was we created a category for each day's Global Entrepreneurship Week was happening for 7 days. We wanted to be invite different people from different backgrounds. So what we came up with, we first day in the beginning of the week after the launch, which we work with the school level people. Then the next day we work with universities, and the following day we work with community builders, and the following next day we work with companies, corporates, and multinational companies, and then we work with associations, embassies, policymakers, something like that. So what we believe, what we did was we reach out to these specific people. We got relevant. These people also, when we work with, they gave feedback, and from the volunteer people who actually helped us this year, they actually, some of the people we wanted to onboard them as ambassadors, because they have some people have large number of followers. These certain people are influencers as well, as I believe the Panama the people Panama was mentioned, that we need to create that awareness, and then we create these contents around the Global Entrepreneurship Week. One of the good thing which we did was last year we worked with television network, and they actually one of the top in Sri Lanka, one of the premium television partner was MTV, and they actually covered our events, which we did around 120 events last year, and they covered and they gave the reach what we require. This time we wanted to work with mainly universities, because last year when we did, now this year we started with 3 universities. For time being, so there are about 17 universities has been onboarded to do GW this year. And one of the thing we every quarter we do partner meetup with our ecosystem enablers, community builders, and associations. We actually did one in April, and we did the second one somewhere in July, and we planning to have the middle of next month, somewhere in October 15, before the GW. So we all will be prepared. We will know what are the things needs to be happen for this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can I add a little bit to that? Thank you. I
Tell
would
them
like
who
to
you
say,
are.
I would like to say that. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm Suresh from Sri Lanka, and I was with the organization that hosted the GW in Sri Lanka up till last year, from the beginning. And it was also the organization, it was called Young Entrepreneurs Sri Lanka, the organization that hosted Junior Achievement. And we worked with a lot of students at that time. However, we were challenged to get companies or associations or chambers to partner with us, or to come and do activities and brand them as GW activities. all along until actually the first ever big GEW event we did was with ICTA, the Government Agency for Information and Communication Technology. And what we realized was that it was the government that had an inclusive relationship with associations around the country or with companies. And when the government invited people to come on board and participate, people were more likely to participate than the private associations. So this was a bit of an awakening for us as well. So last year, since the government started doing that, we were able to do 120 events and won the Rookie Award yesterday after 15 years. Huh?
Got nominated.
Nominated, sorry. That's like winning for me. Anyway, Abit and all are now leading the ICTA program, and I must acknowledge the presence of our minister who was in charge in the government. Our State Minister of Technology is here with us, and his keen interest has also encouraged us. But now we are in a new phase where the government of Sri Lanka really wants to privatize, wants to actually give up that role of dominating these networks, maybe. I don't know how to say that, but really the government can't afford it because this is a private sector initiative and probably should be taken on as a global initiative by the private sector. So what we are hoping to do is to get some publicity to include all these powerful ecosystem partners to come on board on this Gen platform and to celebrate entrepreneurship during Entrepreneurship Week. And I know we've always talked about having events all year. One of the things that we are doing is to try to celebrate the event that was done during the year. We can showcase it and celebrate it during the week and maybe get some media coverage. And unfortunately, we were challenged a little bit again because the month of November in Sri Lanka is we have our national budget and the newspapers are full of government publications. But anyway, now entrepreneurship is very important for us, especially to go through this global financial crisis, I think. And people are realizing the importance of entrepreneurship. So this is good timing, I think, for the entire world to look at collaboration. So this is something that we need to celebrate, I think, because every place that I'm reading globally online talks about the importance of collaboration as a way forward to navigate this present situation. So I think GEN is a fabulous platform for that. And in Sri Lanka, we are looking forward to devolving the government power or government initiatives to the private sector, but to give them a platform that will be more inclusive, because the private sector platform to date are very exclusive. And so this is what we are hoping to do this year. Thank you.
So I want to change the narrative, okay? Because the people that own the narrative guide everything. So all of you have been collaborating for years. This is one of the biggest collaborations globally, right? And so you talk about this is the month that somebody does this. This is the month that somebody does this. And I want to, instead of having you invite people to be part of Global Entrepreneurship Week, ask them why they're not already involved. It is a huge campaign that takes place all over the world in synchronicity at the same time. Why aren't you part of it, right? And so when you change that narrative to say, would you like to be part of this? No. Just say, hey, we're already doing this. You're doing this event. All you have to do is co-brand it, right? You can share the logo, and we invite you now to be part of what we do. Right? These are events that take place all around the world. The world does not benefit from you acting small. We are a global organization. We already do this and have been doing this for 15 plus years, right? So the invitation to others is you could be part of something bigger than yourself, right? Your little event could be part of some big event that we all do together, like it's joining the cool kids table. So, Cheryl?
Good morning, everyone. Cheryl Stewart from Jamaica. So I wanted to share similarly what Cecilia is saying, because last year we went all out communicating about Gen, communicating about GEW. We capitalized on the 15-year logo. So every communication I sent out, whether it was GEW or anything else, that logo was at the bottom of my email. So even though it ended, we still are getting the mileage from it. So one of our major partners in terms of event, Kingston Beta, they started out the celebration of Global Entrepreneurship Week in partnership with sponsored by one of our major financial houses. So I attend every one of their events. Seeing the CEO of that financial house, somebody I knew, and he said, boy, if I knew about this, we could have a full page spread saying, you know, congratulations on celebrating 15 years. And all it takes is just one to act. Now, this year, they are coming to us, wanting to partner with us to do Global Entrepreneurship Week activities. Another space that we look for, because it's very lucrative, and in Jamaica, a lot of young people are in entrepreneurship, or they do some activity in school that they create and they sell. So we approach the schools and say, hey, you're having these activities, channel it here. Just a couple of days before I left Jamaica, I had a meeting with somebody at the business school at one of our universities, and they wanted me to work with them on a program for women. I said, but based on what it is, why don't you have this event during Global Entrepreneurship Week? Because it falls under inclusion. So I keep encouraging people, channel your events during this week, capitalize on the logo, capitalize on the exposure that you get from this platform to say, hey, the University of Technology Jamaica is having this. You don't know. We use our Instagram to push all these activities and everything like that. So pretty much when you get the students involved and tell them, hashtag GEW 2023, they're actually on it. So it is spread across the students in that school and other schools, and it just becomes a movement, you know? It creates, what they say, motion creates emotion. So pretty much, once they are on it, the teachers are seeing, that everybody is seeing what is happening. Junior Achievement is the host, and they have an event for high schools during that week, the Leadership Summit. But they can't capture everyone. So the intent is to now go and speak. I've actually started discussions with the Ministry of Education, the TechVoc unit, to say, hey, these are something, but I'm going further. I am going to the Minister of Education to say, hey, join with us because you are solving an issue in terms of employment, in terms of creativity, innovation among our young people. So let's just partner on this. I know it will take a while for them to really get everything going, But I did it in an organization where I used to work before, so I know it can work. So pretty much always be on the whole thing of marketing. When I make presentation, building the awareness of Gen, GEW is something that I spend a lot of time on. And something we need to recognize in smaller economies like us. Jamaica, we're 3 million people. So if we go to them with EWC, GEW, Startup Hub, you name it, we're going to the same people. So what we do, we present everything to them and say, choose where you want to partner with us. So it gives them the option, and you sometimes just nudge them along where you want them. But it seems as if they're making the decision. But that's what I do, and that's what we do.
And that's why you were recognized for doing that. There's a rule we talk about in the United States. We call it the 100-mile rule. So it seems like you can say these wonderful things all day long in Jamaica, but sometimes you need somebody outside of Jamaica to say all the same things that come out of your mouth. You have this entire network here. So it seems like exotic is sexy, right? So if you're outside of 100 miles, if you're outside of your community, if you're outside of your country, you can invite all of these people to give that message to your community. So maybe I can't articulate it because somebody's not listening to me, then invite Nada to come and say, hey, you know, this thing that we're doing in Jordan, the thing that you already do here in Florida, this is big, right? So connect with each other and advocate for each other. That's also how we get stronger. So there was somebody else and a couple of other hands, and then big announcements coming at noon, right?
Really?
And big announcement coming at 5 p.m. Make sure that you're by the Gen Village stage. So we'll go around the room and then we'll wrap up a little bit early.
Yeah, super. Yeah, my name is Ronald. I'm from Uganda, and we host GW in Uganda. I guess one thing which I wanted to add to the conversation is this question of retaining partners over time. And one of the things which we have noticed is that to retain the partner who you have had during the previous GW, it's critical to engage through the year. So we have kind of quarterly ecosystem engagements of the GW partners, and those have proved very effective. So by the time we come to GW, we have talked to the partner a couple of times during the year, and that has really worked for us. So we have partners who have been with us for 6 years, and that has proved helpful. But also, I think the rest of the programs have been very helpful, because sometimes people don't feel like their event doesn't fit just straight into GW. But when EWC is there, then that means that someone can be able to plug in. And having all these, possibly even Gen Uganda being established, it has helped us have kind of a cocktail to be able to share with our partners. And that has proved very helpful.
Yeah, hello, I'm Eileen from China. I just want to share a little bit about how we did the Global Entrepreneurship Week in China. And we host this program since 2008. And these years we hosted the program by crowdfunding because we crowdfunding activities, crowdfunding medias, of course, money, of course, yeah. Because we hope the GW platform, it's a platform not did by ourselves, but we invite all the partners in the ecosystem to join us to do it together. And of course, we will prepare for the venues, prepare for the facilities, and the public service for them, so that all the organizers, they cost less to do their events. So it works. And this year we will host on November 14th and 19th, the 1 week. So welcome all the GW organizers. You can join us. Maybe we can link, maybe online and during the week. And also we have another event on December, the first week on December. It's we work with our partners. It's focused on incubation. So if anybody do the incubator related things, welcome to join us in maybe visiting Shanghai. Yeah.
And remember, we can talk to each other on the Slack channel. So, Hassan?
I'm Kim Hassan Ripon from Bangladesh, Jain, Bangladesh. So last year we had a fantastic year for Bangladesh. We tried to include school, college, universities, and probably you have some idea about Bangladesh. We're a small country, but big size population, like 170 million plus. But the most interesting part is our average age is 24. That's the main strength. So that's why last year we had, youth engagement, huge youth engagement, and we tried to engage not only digital media, social media, but also we try to, go inside the remote areas. That's the best part because we did the similar thing that the entire world did last year, like engaging university sessions, speaking competitions, or poster competitions. But the most interesting part that we did last year, there is a problem in Bangladesh that we have returning migrants. I mean, people who were working outside the world, they come back in Bangladesh and they were a little bit puzzled, like what they will do after returning from, the foreign country. So what we did specially with one of our partner organization in Bangladesh, we go to the remote places. We covered probably, if I'm not wrong, 10 remote district, and we worked with the returning women migrant. I mean, the women, those who come back from, foreign wage earning job. So, and we listened to them, and we had a mentors group. So our mentors guided them. And the best part is this year when I'm coming here to join GEC 23, and I got some good news, like women's are working, women's are generating ideas, and we introduced boot camp in GW 2022, and finally we had just completed first entrepreneurship boot camp, women entrepreneurship boot camp. Another part that we did for the engineers, diploma engineers, we have a special segment. Our Gen MD, Dr. Sabur Khan, he introduced this especially for the young diploma engineers. They have very positive intentions, not to do jobs seekers, but to create jobs, more jobs. So we had a couple of entrepreneurship bootcamp as well. So my specific request to Cecilia, even when we had a online meeting probably last month, if it is possible, can we include central bank? Because, thanks to the Gen community for recognizing, each country activities, and also the US Department knows about Gen activities. So if it is possible to include or just to send the similar message to the central bank of each country, because central bank has very good impact on country's economic development and everything. So if it is possible, so that's a small request from my side. Thank you so very much.